Hi, hello, and welcome back to a podcast where I talk about going. I was about to say my old intro there for a second. I was about to say going from corporate job to corporate dropout and everything in between. But the reality is that's not my intro anymore. But welcome back to Chaos and Fuckery. We're already starting off with chaos, which I like because the last few episodes have been about fuckery in my life and not necessarily about chaos. And I'm very glad to be back on the chaos side of life. And today, I want to talk about something that I hate talking about. I hate admitting when I can't do something, where it is physically impossible, because honestly, I am one of those people, and I know a lot of people because it has been a conversation in the ADHD space for a while, and even a little bit in the autism space as well. I am driven by spite. If you tell me I can't do something, I will do 500 things to ensure that I do in fact do it. And it could be the stupidest thing on the planet. If you tell me I can't, it will motivate me more just to go do it. That is how I, as a human being, graduated high school in 3 years. That is how I ended up in boarding school at 13 in a foreign country. That is how I graduated my undergrad a semester early. That is how everything in my life up until the point of probably about the time I got married just existed. People telling me I couldn't do something was the sole reason I went off and did that. And that's kind of how I feel about this business. I refuse to give up on it. I refuse to give up on the idea of working for myself, being an entrepreneur, building a business empire for multiple different businesses, because I have so many ideas. I would love to get back into photography. I would love to continue to work on myself and get my dream body to maybe, do something silly like a powerlifting competition or something. I don't know. I say that, but I also know entering the space of fitness competitive is really, really bad for my eating disorder that I talked about in the last episode. I've also been listening to a lot of people talk about how they hate when people change their language when they're talking about serious topics like eating disorders in order to appease the algorithm. And I've decided I also hate that. I hated it when I wasn't a creator. I understand it as a creator because of the algorithms, but at the same time, I'm over placating that kind of stuff. And that has nothing to do with today's topic, but I just openly said, eating disorders instead of ED. And I'm going to talk about how, I'm sure in future episodes, I'm going to talk about how I was anorexic instead of saying I was best friends with Anna. And I want to be more clear in my language. I want to be more clear in my communication with everybody in my life. But that starts with evaluating me and what I am capable of doing. And that leads me into today's topic. Because not only is this 2 weeks later than I intended it to be, because this was supposed to be a January recap, talking about those goals that I talked about at the beginning of January and my vision board and things like that. I took on too much. I have too many ideas swirling around all at once, and I took on too much. I need to take a step back and focus on me, and hopefully focusing on me also brings more people into the business. I am going to continue to post content as a coach, but I'm not going to sell anymore. I am not going to try to do a big scholarship multiple times a year. I'm not going to try to bring in new clients really right now, because I was pushed. When I first started, I was already working on my certification, but I wasn't even, and I think this is a sickness in the fitness space that I do want to talk about in a future episode. Anyone who is interested in fitness, for whatever reason, is pushed to become a coach before they're ready. If you have any significant weight loss story, you're pushed to become a coach. There are so many people, especially if you're sharing your story online, that say, are you a coach? I'd love to work with you, just because you shared your story. And I want to talk about, before and afters and everything in a separate episode. But going back to the point of this episode, because I am the queen of chaos tangents, I took on too much. Trying to build 3 YouTube channels, a TikTok, shorts, obviously, that go with those YouTube videos that I'm creating, and post on all of those on a weekly basis was a bad decision. Now, I don't think separating my gaming channel that's purely gaming with a fitness twist from my fitness review, fitness advice channel for gamers was a bad idea. Because at one point when I started my YouTube channel, I was doing both gaming content and fitness content on one channel. And I didn't really like that. I didn't like mixing, oh, let me play FNAF for the first time with this is how you train like this character from God of War. I didn't like that mix. And so I'm not regretting separating the channels. I'm regretting setting up a schedule that was impossible to do for someone who still works a 9 to 5, is a wife, owns a home that she has to do maintenance on, has animals, and, wants to go touch grass every now and again. I am totally down to put in the work, put my head down, especially when my husband's traveling, or there's not a lot going on at the theme parks, or I don't have a lot going on in my life in general. I am willing to put my head down and do things, financially to make it so it's more comfortable for me to leave my 9 to 5, push for the business to create all of these vision board goals that I have. I'm willing to put in that work. I signed up for too much. And I don't like admitting that. I don't like reworking the schedule that I came up with to fit a lifestyle that allows me to, in a way, it feels like I'm saying, where was I going with this? Shit. In a way, it feels like I'm admitting defeat. In a way, it feels like I'm admitting that I can't do this. And that's not the case, because I am going to continue to push and be more consistent. And, maybe I focus more on short form and cut back on my long form until I have the income coming into the business to hire an editor. Specifically for my gaming content, because those videos take me forever. I heard someone say recently, I think it was Peter Mon. I was watching a silly video of Peter Mon's, and he said, calling yourself a perfectionist is an excuse to not do anything, because then you just don't post anything, right? Or something along those lines. It was basically saying, when you say you're a perfectionist, you're really creating excuses so that you have a foundation to fall back on when you inevitably don't do the thing that you said you were going to do. And I needed to hear that in a way, because yes, I am obsessive, specifically of my gaming content. I want to be, in the ranks of, the Astral Spiffs, and just big enough that it's fun. And maybe a few people recognize me, but also, I don't know that I want people recognizing me. That's a lie. I don't want people recognizing me, but big enough that I can sustain that part of the business solely by itself. And I don't need my clientele on the fitness side to fund my fun gaming hobby, if that makes sense. I want to be in those ranks when it comes to a gaming channel. And obviously, I haven't even launched my first real gaming video. So I'm not there. I'm not even close. But I've seen stories from, Spiff and CJ and other people. I watched him, Architect, Point Crow, and some of it is knowing my schedule is so chaotic. I would love to get in and collaborate with other people. I would love to, come up with a fitness to get enough people coming in on it and shoot my shot. A fitness Mario Party, or a whatever. An archipelago, get multiple people doing I turned an archipelago into a workout thing. That would be fun. But my schedule currently, I fit better for solo things. And it's a duality of, I know collabing will grow my platform at some point, but also I can't. Scheduling that kind of stuff right now is not where my brain should be. I should be focusing on my content, my story, my everything, and my clients that I do have currently, because I took on way too much. I've also realized that I need to do better with the time that my husband's not home, because being a wife, and this is, the dynamic changes. The amount of time I have to myself to do things like edit a video, record a video, lock myself in my office and be a gremlin until 3 a.m., recording gaming videos. The amount of time I have to do that when I am now a part of a duo again and not just on my own is significantly impacted. And that's not a bad thing. I want to focus, on my relationship and, being a wife and being a part of touching grass and not just be online and so deeply into my business that when it is successful, I can't come out of it. I don't want that for myself. But I also know that you have to be in the trenches in the beginning. And that is, again, the weird confliction in my brain where I feel like I'm giving up. I know I'm not. But saying I took on too much and rearranging my schedule entirely, I went from saying I was going to do 3 podcast episodes a week, 2 main channel videos a week, and 1 gaming channel video a week. I am fucking insane. If I ever thought I was going to do that. Could I record 1 gaming video a week? Yes. Could I edit it on top of editing? The podcast edit's easy for right now. The fitness videos are pretty easy. They're like 10 minutes max, especially given that I'm going to steer away from trying more. I'm going to focus on the formats I know work and then move away from the ones that don't. Or not, that's not what I meant. I am obviously going to move away from the ones that don't, but also I am going to put less into trying new formats until I grow a little bit. My fitness review of fitness games and can I burn 500 calories playing this game, whatever that game is, are doing well, relatively. They're longer haul videos from what I've noticed. They're not like insta hits, but they do well. And that's where I'm at right now. I am now 1 video a month for the gaming channel so that I have time to edit it. And then I am 1 video a week on the fitness channel and 1 podcast a week here. Now here I will have a lot more easier time doing shorts and mini vlogs and things like that outside of the actual podcast episode that edit pretty quickly. I can do a day in the life if I'm at the parks, or I can do where it fits better here than it does on any of my other channels. I can do my horror night stuff. I can talk about horror nights. I can, as it comes up, I can talk about Mardi Gras, which we will talk about Mardi Gras when I have family coming into town here shortly, and I'll get to go over to Universal's Mardi Gras and participate in that. Maybe go back to Epic. I don't know. I'm debating. But I needed to realize that I took on too much in January, just in general. And also, I needed to take a step back and find that balance between me, the things I enjoy, and building a business. I enjoy the content creation piece. I enjoy coaching too, but I don't like selling. So I'm thinking if I become more me and less a coach, if you will, that maybe we can find our way back to a successful content creation, a successful business within the next year. I also need to kind of refocus some finance stuff, which I did do, but I'm not going to go too deep into that because budgeting and finances, that's not my expertise. I'm decent at it, but I also do extreme things to hit extreme amounts of money in small amounts of time. It's the same thing with fitness. What I do to get or jumpstart where I want is a little extreme and borderline potentially problematic. I wouldn't recommend that to my clients, but it's what works for me. I don't like admitting that that kind of stuff is what works for me, but that's my ADHD brain screaming at me. I can only do this for so long. I have to have a goal. I have to have someone I can't tell me I can't do something. Those kind of things, like I have to have people that don't believe me at all to motivate me to go do it. And that is unfortunate. But that brings me to these things, because we are going to do a little recap and we're going to see if we need to reevaluate. Right? January. No spend and dry January. We were actually successful at that. I mean, dry January shouldn't, if you have issues with dry January, in my opinion, you probably should reevaluate your relationship with alcohol. But yeah, no spend, dry January. We did good. Launched the 30-day free demo. We did not do that. We are not ready to do a launch right now, and I don't know why I thought I was. I couldn't even commit to doing the 30 days because of everything that was going on. So I'm going to restart working through that through my own journey. I think I'm going to start with the 30 days. And that first 30 days is the first 30 days of my 6-month program. And that'll put me perfectly at a launch, I think, for my birthday. 6 months. It's not quite, a little right before my birthday, which is perfect. I should have a pretty decent transformation by then if I really commit to it and break down, you know? So we didn't do the 30-day, which is fine. That is not, I was looking for a pen. As you can see, I've got January here. Launch gamer plays. Now, I could have launched with a video I wasn't happy with, and a video that, from what I understand in the Nintendo circles, wouldn't have done well, which was my DK video. That was my original plan. I was launching with DK, but every time I die, I had 15 hours of footage done for DK. I think I'm just going to keep that as, short content in the future. Because it wasn't a video I was proud of while I was working on it. And I wanted to try to make it like my Super Mario Odyssey video, and it just wasn't coming out that way. I didn't record it that way. It just was meh. I didn't like it. So I did edit I turned CJ Oz 1100 player, but I was kind of waiting till he put out his 1100 player video I didn't want to put it out before he did. And that's just a weird, I like respecting that. So now that his 1100 player video is out, I think I'm going to finish up that video and launch that, which also will give me more time to edit the next video for Gamer Plays, which will be the streamer legs versus a Kingdom Hearts Archipelago. And then I'm going to do a streamer arms versus my next video after that will be streamer arms versus Architects Kingdom Hearts 2 Kaizo challenge. Anyways, I didn't do the launch of 30 days, and I didn't launch the gamer channel. Under 200. So I was for about 5 seconds, I think, and then I lost track of everything when my husband got home again, and I don't know. I think I'm going to stop thinking about the scale. I did my best when I was just training to train because it felt good. I was training for derby and things like that, and the scale wasn't a thought in my mind. Measurements weren't a thought in my mind. Those are the times that I've done the best, both nutritionally and working out. So I think we're just going to move away from the scale and not think about that. 10K daily. I got pretty close to doing that most of January. Weekends are definitely a little bit hard. So we'll go maybe on that one. Paying off one of my cards. I did, in fact, do that. I just did it this week, so it wasn't technically in January, but it's done by the time we're reviewing it. So, yay. I didn't hit my YouTube and I didn't hit my client, but, that is what it is. I also wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing to do those things. So there's that. And I didn't do the weekly cards like I thought I was going to. I think I really should start doing that. But maybe I just use my, whiteboard or something. I don't know. I like having them here for this, so I probably will start doing this. February. I haven't looked at these since I wrote them. So let's see what our February goals are. 2 new clients. I am going to nix that before we even start looking at it. Why? Because I am focusing, like I said, more on me and less on client and my content and getting consistent and building rather than trying to sell and get clients. So we're scratching that. It's going away. 300 subscribers on YouTube. Well, given that I didn't get 200, we're going to take that down to 200. Just to keep on moving on. 100 followers on TikTok, because I did make my goal there. We'll keep that. Although I only have 2 weeks and I would have to do 100-ish. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Paying off half of another card. I think I also did this out of order. I think that's doable. I also think that, I can fully pay one off once I get my bonus at work. So we'll think about that. We're going to leave that alone. And then another scale one. We're going to get rid of the scale goals because we no longer care about the scale. Daily workouts. I'm going to keep to that for the next 2 weeks at least. I am going to try to build that habit again because at one point I was doing, stretching. I was going to the gym just to stretch and do, mobility work and things like that, even on my off days, so that I was going somewhere. But now that I have my home gym, I am going to get back into that routine again. And I want to get back into that routine again. I've got 10K daily again. We're going to try to actually hit that this time. Posting daily, again, shorts. Posting short form daily is easy. I can do that. I should be doing that. Get new emotes. I I'm gonna scratch that because as much as I want to, that doesn't align with my financial goals right now, and I don't have income from the business to justify that. So I'm gonna scratch that. I don't know why I did so many of these so early. And then the last one is relaunch stream. I could do that. Realistically, I could stream some of the content that's coming up, like the Kaizo challenge, and I probably will. I probably will officially start the Kaizo challenge later on today, the day that I'm recording this, not the day it's going up. I have been playing Kaizo Seeds to try to familiarize myself with to make it less miserable, but I'm probably gonna stream it. I won't always stream parts of the video as I record them though, because like I said, my life changes drastically between when I am solo by myself versus when I am part of a duo again. So that's okay. I am allowed to have that. And I have to realize that I'm allowed. He is not changing my life to ways that I'm not okay with, you know? It's just part of being in a relationship. Sometimes you give and take, right? So I am going to relaunch stream, but I am not going to put out a schedule. It will be as I feel necessary and as I want to, because one of my other things is, as much as I want to continue to work on this business, I have an opportunity to make some extra funds and throw them into a very quick growing account, if you will, so that a year from now, I can, and also on top of that, earn some more vacation time that I think will help with balancing the content creation, right? Because I could take, a week off, or I can take November, like Thanksgiving to after New Year's off if I really wanted to. And that's something I really want to work towards doing. So the balance between creating long form videos and meeting financial goals is going to be an interesting one. It's on top of that, if my channels start to get monetized and do things the right way, it's a whole big thing. It all goes together. And you know what? We are realigning ourselves with who we want to be. And that's the whole point of this podcast. This is the whole point of like rediscovering and journeying our lives in our 30s. And part of that is admitting when I may have got it wrong. I'm not good at that. And I got it wrong in January. I got it epically wrong, clearly, because this video is 2 weeks late. I couldn't even sit down and record it. But I got my hair refreshed. My other half is on travel once again, and we are on our way to creating a world where things are okay again. And I say that in a way not to be concerning, as a way of dealing with admitting defeat, which is not something I do well at all. That's kind of your January recap. That's talking about, admitting when you've taken on too much, because as a type A-ish, I can be very type B. What is that, type C? I don't understand the typing, because yes, I am very, dominant. I'm very independent. I'm very traditionally not meek and mild. I'm very alpha for a female, but I'm also, I can be very beta when my husband's home. Like, what is that? Omega? There's so many different type A, type B. I don't know what the fuck I am. I would say I'm type A because I do like to have control over things, but I don't always have to. I'm chaos. I'm fuckery. What do you want from me? Anyways, that is all for today. We recapped January. We talked a little bit about what it's like, admitting that you took on too much, and not just simply giving up because you did that, but rearranging the schedule and figuring it out. So I will be back next week with whatever the fuck I want to talk about, because I don't know what I want to talk about. And that is all. So I hope you enjoyed my chaos and you go get into some fuckery.